News.
To hold the whole country hostage is, I have no words for that. It's catastrophic.
Following a bitter contract dispute that shut down the country's two major railways, thousands of employees have now been ordered to get back to work. But for some in impacted industries, uncertainty still looms. Plus,
you've got trees that are 40, 50, easily years old, and they're sails now. They're half missing.
tree trimming concerns, why several residents in interior BC are describing recent tree trimming work as a chainsaw massacre. Also,
this is what a real farmer's market looks like. People coming together for the community, farmers coming to sell their produce. It's not about greed, it's not about massive profits, it's about taking care of yourself and taking care about other people.
farm to fridge, how a grassroots farmers market is helping people save money on produce. Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. Canada's Industrial Relations Board has ordered thousands of rail employees back to work after a bitter contract dispute shut down the country's two major railways. The workers' union has said it will comply with the board's decision, but plans to appeal in federal court. As Philip Lee Shannock tells us, despite the board's decision, there is still a lot of uncertainty.
Workers on this farm west of Winnipeg are making hay while the sun is shining. Besides, the weather is another element out of their control. The stop-start of the railway labor dispute being felt across Canada.
For the railways and the workers to hold the whole country hostage is, I have no words for that. It's catastrophic, it is not right, and it affects everyone.
That's no exaggeration. Between them, Canadian National and Canadian Pacific Kansas City, Canada's two major freight railroads, move more than $400 billion in goods a year coast to coast and all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, trade that's estimated to be worth $1 billion a day. It all came to a halt on Thursday with a lockout forcing Ottawa to step in and send workers and companies to binding arbitration. Now producers hope this decision from Canada's Industrial Relations Board will get the trains moving again.
Our cash flow has stopped, and I was so excited a couple days ago when they were putting going to a third-party arbitrator to get the rail moving again, and then to have it stopped. Or it hasn't started again, but to have it continue has just been devastating.
The Teamsters Union is contesting the government's authority to impose binding arbitration. Some critics say with transporting goods and people across such a vast country so critical to the national economy, the federal government should take steps to prevent labor disputes from crippling trade.
Legislate that they're essential services, and if people say no, they're not, well, then let's bear the consequences of a strike and have the enormous, catastrophic consequences on communities across Canada.
He says that there are rulings by the top court that deeming workers essential is not a violation of collective bargaining, since not everyone has the right to strike. Meanwhile, across the country, farmers racing to get their harvest to market are wondering when rail service will be back on track. Philip Lee Shannock, CBC News, Toronto.
Highway 1 near Sicamous was closed for more than 10 hours today after a semi-trailer truck crashed through a barrier and off the side of Bruin Bridge, plunging into Mara Lake. Mounties say the driver, who is believed to have been the only person inside the semi-truck, has not yet been found, despite search and rescue efforts from divers. The crash appears to have caused diesel fuel to spill in the water, but officials don't believe there is a significant risk to the area's drinking water. The province says it is assessing the site for damage. The search for the driver is set to pick back up tomorrow. The highway has since reopened, but people are being asked to slow down around the bridge. A 26-year-old man has been charged with second-degree murder in connection to a shooting in Maple Ridge earlier this year. The Lower Mainland's Integrated Homicide Investigation Team says Maple Ridge resident Alexander Dallaire was charged on Friday and remains in custody. The killing happened on May 31st near 223rd Street and Lougheed Highway. When police arrived, they found a man with life-threatening injuries. He later died at the scene. IHIT has not released the identity of the victim or his relationship with the suspect. BC's police watchdog has closed its investigation into a woman's death in Lumbee. The group says it did not find any evidence of a criminal offense in the RCMP's handling of the case. Tatiana Stefanski's body was discovered on April 14th after she was reportedly taken from her home a day earlier. Her partner claims the couple had previously received threats that were reported to police 4 months before her disappearance and death. The Independent Investigations Office has since found no reasonable grounds to believe that a criminal offense was committed by any officer. Stefanski's ex-husband was charged with second-degree murder in May. The case is before the courts. The historic Frontier Motel restaurant in Revelstoke has been destroyed by an overnight fire. Multiple fire engines responded and crews worked to contain the blaze while evacuating guests from the motel.
I grabbed my stuff, threw it in the truck, moved my truck out of the way, and then it was pouring rain, went around and watched the fire, and the police officer was very much in panic.
Revelstoke Fire Rescue says it happened just after midnight. Crews were able to save the motel itself and the nearby gas station, but the restaurant was completely gutted. The fire department says the blaze is under investigation, but it is not considered to be suspicious. A sinkhole has partially closed a busy road in Langley. The sinkhole appeared near Fraser Highway at 201A Street. Frontline officers responded to the scene along with the City of Langley Engineering Department to investigate the incident. The right turning lane from 201A Street onto Fraser Highway is being detoured due to the giant sinkhole. Residents in Caramias in BC's interior are up in arms after several trees around the community had their branches trimmed. Sarab Sandhu reports, they say some of the trees are historic and the extreme trimming has left them looking unsightly.
Several people who live in Caramias, a community about 80 kilometers south of Kelowna, have taken to social media to share photos of trees that were recently trimmed by a contractor for Fortis BC. The utility provides natural gas and electricity in the area. One resident is describing the work as a chainsaw massacre.
So many of the trees in the community literally are half gone. They basically took the entire roadside of a lot of trees, a lot of old trees, all through our parks and the edges of our parks on private property. It's a massacre. There's no other way to describe it.
He says some of the trees that had branches cut off are historic.
You've got trees that are 40, 50, easily years old, and they're sails now. They're half missing.
Fortis BC says the work is meant to keep the community safe, as trees too close to power lines can pose a fire risk and lead to outages. One expert we spoke to says utility tree trimming is routine and important to minimize risk.
In certain situations, it's better to have a brutal-looking tree versus no tree, because trees still sometimes they provide noise mitigation, they reduce pollutants that come off the highway, they do give some shade, maybe there's some birds' nests in there.
Residents say they are upset the natural gas company did not notify them ahead of time and worry pruning trees to such a degree could cause more problems in the future. Fortis BC says it notifies communities when trees need to be removed, but less often for tree trimming because of how commonplace it is. The company says the work in Caramias is ongoing with no word yet on when it will be done. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
We're learning more about how private property covenants may stall the province's plans to densify neighborhoods. The agreements often ensure single-family homes cannot be replaced with multiplexes or small apartment buildings. And as Chad Pawson explains, in Burnaby's Brentwood Park, property owners are betting on it.
Designed and built in the 1950s, Brentwood Park is one of Burnaby's most beautiful neighborhoods. Large homes on large lots, plenty of green space, something people who live here want to preserve.
This neighborhood's a gem, basically. It's a beautiful neighborhood. If you were trying to design a neighborhood and if you were trying to hope for a good neighborhood, this accomplishes all of it.
For months, this neighborhood has been advocating for itself, pushing back against provincial policies that essentially abolishes single-family home zoning in neighborhoods like this. It would pave the way for 4 or 6 unit multiplexes, even apartment buildings in neighborhoods close to transit hubs like this one. People who live here say that type of housing would wreck the neighborhood. Let's just say these 4 properties got sold together. An 8-story apartment building could go on this parcel of land?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
And what goes through your mind when you think about something like that in the future of your neighborhood?
Well, that would be the start of the end.
Now, Brentwood Park has a secret weapon, so to speak, private agreements that were put in place when these homes were built. They're called statutory building schemes. They're restrictive covenants that ensure a certain type of housing here, in this case, single-family homes. The province admits its new housing legislation doesn't supersede private covenants, but wonders if they may be antiquated.
Does it make sense in the housing crisis today to still have those covenants in place? I know that conversation is happening in my community, and I know it's happening in communities throughout the province.
Court challenges are popping up now, with the justice system the only recourse at present for deciding if covenants should protect property owner rights or be nullified to increase housing. Experts in city planning say this wrinkle is perhaps an example of the province moving too fast and too forcefully to try and address the housing crisis.
Really looking at this role of covenants I think is just perhaps one of a number of challenges towards final implementation that the housing legislation that was just passed last year.
Brentwood Park's restrictive covenants could soon be put to the test. These homes are up for sale, part of an attempted land assembly for the development of an 8-story apartment building to take their place. Chad Pawson, CBC News, Burnaby.
Today marks 33 years since Ukraine gained independence from the Soviet Union, and Ukrainians and supporters gathered across BC to celebrate. This is Ukraine's 3rd Independence Day since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of the country on February 24th, 2022. Since then, BC has welcomed thousands of Ukrainians fleeing the war.
For us, it's just important to get together on this day and show our unity and hopefully just remind local people about Ukraine and what's happening in Ukraine.
A dozen or so people also gathered in downtown Kelowna's City Park Saturday. The celebration included music, speeches, and traditional Ukrainian food. A grassroots farmers market is helping connect producers with people looking to buy affordable, locally grown fruits and vegetables. The CBC's Isaac Panay reports.
This one? The rain isn't keeping customers away from Gellin Farms, where people can buy blueberries mere meters away from the bushes they grew on.
I've sold one full trailer already, and now we have started packing more blueberries right now because we need more blueberries for more customers, right?
For the first time, Gellin is inviting local farmers onto his property to connect them with customers directly.
These blueberries are picked yesterday, and they are all fresh. They go directly to their fridge from my farm.
What isn't at the farm are distributors or packers who normally buy produce from farmers to sell to grocery stores. They're also not charging stall fees, unlike some farmers markets.
Every time you add a middleman, it makes the produce at the end less affordable.
It's definitely much cheaper. You know, the grocery prices are skyrocketing now. So that was one reason to get it at a reduced price. And also, as I said, support the local farming community.
Singh says he's not taking a cut for organizing Saturday's farmers market, and he uses social media to get the word out.
This is what a real farmer's market looks like. People coming together for the community, farmers coming to sell their produce. It's not about greed, it's not about massive profits, it's about taking care of yourself and taking care about other people.
Yeah, we'll take a couple of eggplants roughly the same size.
Experts say grassroots markets like this help farmers stay afloat. StatsCan says last year, BC farmers saw a net annual income loss of $264 million.
All of the pre-production and post-production and marketing and processing entities have really figured out how to capture all the value in food, leaving farmers with none of the proceeds or insufficient proceeds.
He says distributors and market fees are part of the reason why BC farmers are struggling. Back at the blueberry farm, families are lining up.
We got white eggplants, which we rarely get in the stores. And we got some, these are called tindas in Hindi, or squashes.
Singh says he's planning another farmers market next weekend and is encouraging farmers across Canada to do the same. Isaac Punne, CBC News, Vancouver.
It's a bittersweet end to a decades-old sporting tradition in BC. The Ironman triathlon, first hosted by Penticton in 1983, is hosting its final race this weekend before the competition moves to Ontario. Tom Popick reports.
Penticton's Ironman weekend begins with its youngest competitors, Iron Kids, bringing energy that even impresses defending champion Jeff Simons.
I mean, it's a source of inspiration. You come down and you see the kids race, and it's like that's it in a nutshell, right?
Jeff was once that kid, growing up in Penticton and watching this triathlon grow for decades.
You just see kids getting stoked, getting out there, doing epic things on gnarly days like today, and you sort of gain that, yeah, I can do things. I can do hard tasks, I can set goals and crush them, and that carries beyond just the race day.
That attitude brought triathlons to Penticton more than 40 years ago. Local endurance athletes organized the Peach Classic, attracting 200 competitors, and in 1986 hosted the very first Ironman in continental America, a qualifier for the original Hawaiian Classic. It's become a premier event, a Canadian championship. The race moved to Whistler in 2013, then back to Penticton, just as the pandemic hit.
We've only successfully put it on once in 2022. We obviously had a few COVID cancellations and the fires last year.
For race director Susie Ernsting, getting Sunday's final competition right is personal.
It was where I did my first Ironman in 2010, so it means a lot to me to be able to put on the last race.
Next year, Ottawa will host the almost 4 kilometers of swimming, 180 kilometers of cycling, and a full marathon, signing a 5-year contract with the American company that runs Ironman worldwide.
Bittersweet weekend.
Penticton Mayor Julius Bloomfield understands the change is just business. Costs have increased and there's competition for crowds and sponsors. He's focused on the long run and the legacy.
I've had lots of people come up to me this weekend saying, you know, we moved here because of Ironman, and it's just been, you know, it's been a tremendous boost for the city. Both in national recognition and international recognition as well.
What does it mean to Penticton? It's been part of our identity. It's been part of who we are as citizens and people growing up, and it's pretty special.
One that still inspires. Jeff carried his own 18-month-old through the youngest Iron Kids race. New generations learning it's not just the finish line or destination, but the journey.
I just like doing that stuff. Just like running.
That leaves a lasting impact. Tom Popick, CBC News, Penticton.
Coming up, police in Germany arrest 2 people in connection with Friday's stabbing rampage. We'll have more on that after the break. To international news now. Gaza ceasefire talks have resumed in Cairo, and a Hamas delegation is in the city to review any new proposals. Today, though, there was no signs of any breakthroughs. Gaza officials said Israeli strikes today killed at least 50 people. Reports say some of the dead from 2 days ago remained on the roadsides. In one of northern Gaza's historic refugee camps, people lined up for food aid. Yesterday, UN officials said the amount of food entering Gaza is one of its lowest levels since last October, and that acute malnutrition has quadrupled since May. Police have arrested 2 people in connection to Friday's stabbing rampage in Germany. ISIS has claimed responsibility. It offered no proof, but German authorities had already said they were not ruling out terrorism. The latest arrest happened at a shelter for refugees. There's no report on who was arrested or the person's suspected connection. Police were still at the attack site today. It happened at a festival. Earlier, a teen was arrested with a possible link to the suspect under investigation. The attacker set upon at least 11 people. 3 of them were killed. Here we have a live shot of BC Place tonight. I'll have your full forecast after the break.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
On September 14th, celebrate Indigenous community, culture, and spirit at the 3rd annual Come Toward the Fire, a free outdoor festival where CBC is proud to be invited and return as the exclusive media partner. For more information, visit cometowardthefire.com. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter and keep connected with us.
All right, let's take a look now at our forecast. Let's begin with a peek at the precipitation map. We can see a lot of that green and even a little bit of yellow, which means heavy rain in certain areas coming across many areas of the province. It is going to be a wet weekend for certain parts of the province. Of course, Dease Lake tomorrow, 13 is your high with that precipitation. It's going to be much drier in places like Prince George with a high of 19 and a mix of sun and clouds for tomorrow. And in Kamloops, a high of 25, sun and clouds. And in Whistler, 18, again with those isolated showers. Over on the island, much drier with a high of 19 in Victoria for tomorrow. And in Metro Vancouver, that rain will continue overnight into Sunday and into Monday as well, with a high of 20 and 19 for Monday. But that looks like it's going to dry right up for Tuesday with a high of 18. That is your late news for August 24th. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For news at any hour, you can always head to our website at cbc.ca/BC. We'll see you tomorrow.